What's going on, everybody? My name is Bendy, and this is Disney Heroes. Well, actually, it's a clip from Tangled, but whatever. Oh, fuck, that's me! Alright, chill out, horsey. I mean no harm. Hey, oh.
You should know that this is the strangest thing I've ever done!
So this video is going to be the second one in my hero overview series, and this one is going to be Maximus, if you couldn't guess by the intro. You guys seem to enjoy the first one, where I talked about Mulan. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I think I had some pretty good info in that one. So in this one, I'm going to talk about Maximus, the ass-kicking stallion from Tangled, who is probably the best tank in the game right now, with his crazy high HP, defensive abilities, and team boost that he gives his teammates with his studying. If you guys are enjoying this channel so far, consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell. I'm just gonna keep this intro short, so let's just get right on into it. So, Maximus. You know him. You probably hate him if you have to face him, because he's pretty annoying. So let's just go through his skills first. His white skill is Sword Swat. Maximus draws his sword and points it at enemies, increasing his and allies' basic damage by a lot for 10 seconds and studying enemies for 8. Maximus then strikes at the closest enemy, dealing a lot of damage, and that's actually increased by his basic damage right there, so that's kind of interesting. His green skill is Apple Attack. Maximus eats an apple and spits the core at the nearest enemy, healing himself for a lot of HP and dealing a lot of damage. And then his blue skill, Maximus dodges a melee attack and counters, dealing a lot of damage and stunning nearby enemies for 12 seconds. Maximus can dodge a melee attack once every 10 seconds. His purple skill is Follow Your Nose. Maximus marks the enemy with the most basic damage, studying them for the remainder of the wave. That's pretty huge right there. So, say you're going against like Mulan or Dash or something like that. Maximus is literally just going to study them for the rest of the wave. So Maximus and his teammates are all going to just be critting constantly if they're a normal damage hero. So that's really one of the big things that makes Maximus good, is just the constant normal crits that he's able to create for his team. And then on top of all of the damage boost, studied enemies also deal 85% less to Maximus. So if you're ever facing a Maximus that just seems unkillable, it could definitely be because you're studied and dealing almost no damage to him as a result. And then finally, his red skill, Loyal Steed. Sword Swat also grants Maximus and frontline enemies 3 stacks of Hardy, and midline and backline heroes get a lot of skill power that lasts 5 seconds. So on top of just doing a lot of damage and increasing ally basic damage, his red skill makes it so that he also gives them 3 stacks of Hardy. And if you didn't see my noob guide videos, what Hardy does is it blocks any debuff from being applied to the hero that has Hardy on it. So that could be freeze, charm, an attack reduction, anything like that. There's loads of things that Hardy can block. So the next part of his red skill is his allies receive 80% of their basic damage as reality, but that is reduced for allies above whatever your red skill is at. Now that's kind of interesting. I didn't really read it closely enough ever before. I'm kind of reading this for the first time. I mean, not really, but like just thinking about it. That's kind of interesting though, because it seems like everything else in Maximus's kit is more physical based. So it's kind of interesting that he gives him and his allies reality instead of armor. So all in all, Maximus is a pretty well-rounded character. He does a lot of damage. He studies, making it so all normal damage moves, which is anything with the fist, as well as most heroes' basic attacks. They're always going to crit. He heals himself, he gives reality and Hardy to his teammates, and yeah, he does quite a lot of things. Let's go to his stats before we talk about his friend discs. So he has pretty decent basic damage, I'd say. I don't think it's anything too crazy compared to a lot of the damage heroes in the game. Actually, I'd say his basic damage is pretty damn good. But anyways, his skill power is pretty good. His max HP is what I wanted to talk about. I don't know if he has the most max HP in the entire game, but he has the most max HP of any hero that I have. He has over 7 million max HP at R12 and 220. That's pretty ridiculous. That's like, other than Mr. Incredible, that's like double or even triple what almost every other hero has, which is like insane. So if you're studied, just the fact that he's healing, Maximus can just seem so unkillable with his massive HP that he has. He has more armor than reality, so he's going to be defending against normal damage a little bit more than reality, but the fact that his red skill gives everybody on his team reality, so it probably all evens out after all of that gets added in. He has improved healing, so that's kind of interesting. And he has normal crit. But since he's studying so much, he's going to be critting all the time anyways, so it doesn't really matter this normal crit stat. Alright, so let's move on to what his friend discs do. So the first one is his Flynn Rider one. So what that does is it gives him max HP, and it gives more basic damage to Maximus and his allies. And then the star ability over here, what that does is it gives allies even more basic damage for each currently studied enemy, and it can stack up to, I'm gonna guess it goes up to 5 when it's maxed, but I haven't worked on this disc yet, so I can't really confirm that. That one just really goes hard going with the study. So if you have a good study team, like say Pleakley, Barbossa, Captain Hook, Basil, they would go great with Maximus. So it's gonna work really well with heroes like that. The Scarab special one, which is his Timon friend disc, what that does is it gives himself armor and it gives himself skill power. This is the one I use. I don't really know which one is better. They're both pretty good friend discs. So what the Timon friend disc does with the star ability over here is, on top of dealing basic damage and also giving hardy to your teammates, Sword SWAT also has a good chance to remove all buffs from damage roll enemies. So this can mean you can get rid of, say, Randall's invisibility, any attack boost that any of damage roll enemies have, any speed boosts, etc. You can kind of go with whichever one you think is better. I personally went with this one because I like the removing buffs ability. It makes Maximus kind of like Tron in a way. Alright, so we've talked about all of his skills. Let's move on to my mods here. I said in my Mulan video that I really liked the mods that I gave her, but Maximus, I kind of think it's a little bit more arbitrary. The skill ones, I kind of just gave him 2 green skill. It doesn't really matter a ton, I don't think, because both the green and blue skill kind of do the same thing. I only gave him the green skill because it makes him heal himself for more HP versus dealing just more damage. So it kind of, whatever you think is a little bit better, but they're both kind of the same exact skill in a way. Just don't give him the purple skill. It's kind of pointless to give a skill mod upgrade to any skill that is number based like this, because if you've maxed out this skill, it's not going to fail you anyways, so there's really no point in going even further with it. I suppose you could give it to this one if you're not at max level yet and you're facing tougher opponents a lot, but by the time you max out your skills, it's probably better off to take it off of, say, the purple skill and move it to something else. But that's just what I did. And then I also increased his basic damage and I gave him a crit mod, and then over here I just gave him more armor and it gives him more max HP. So he's already got like a bazillion max HP. I'm just increasing that more. You could go even harder with the normal crits if you want. Do either blue or green for the skill mods that you do. It doesn't really matter which one, to be honest. They're both kind of the same thing. I can't show you, but you can do either armor or reality, but I just went with armor because I like to give heroes whatever they're better at as far as armor or reality, just to help them do even better at what they're already good at versus trying to even it out, if that makes sense. Like I said, you can totally copy me if you want. You don't have to. You can totally disagree with me and do something different, but that's just what I did. So now we're going to get to the meat of the video. Who works well with Maximus and who counters Maximus. So as I already kind of hinted to before, Maximus works great with study. So heroes like Pleakley, Barbossa, Baymax also has study, Captain Hook, Basil also has a study. I think Kim Possible does, so Kim Possible works well with Maximus as well. Just anybody that studies. And similarly, anyone who deals a lot of just normal damage in general. So, say Flynn, Aladdin, Darkwing Duck, anybody like that does physical damage over fantastic damage is going to work great with Maximus as a teammate. Freeze is going to work great with Maximus, and Charm, and really any stun like that, just because it's going to help him get more of his damage off because he does so much damage. Jim is going to work great with Maximus because he gives his teammates a basic damage boost, so it's just going to be a double basic damage boost. Kermit is going to work pretty well with Maximus because the actual basic damage boost that Maximus gives is going to actually make Kermit heal more, because Kermit doesn't actually have a basic attack. His basic attack only heals. Similarly, that will work with Fear, and I think there's one other support that doesn't deal any damage and just heals as their basic attack. So that is a thing as well to consider. And also, since Maximus is usually up front, Kermit is going to be making him invincible quite a bit as well. Megara will work pretty well with Maximus because of the basic attack boost that her skill gives. And yeah, Maximus, he kind of just works great with almost anybody as a teammate. You could really just slap him on almost any team and you'll be fine, because he just does so much. Now, on to the most important part, who counters Maximus? So, the number one counter that I always go in with when I see a Maximus is Freeze, 100%. So, I'll put in my Kristoff and or my Elsa. The Freeze just totally messes him up so much, so that's my number one go-to. Other options could be, say, Charm and just any other stun. Blind will work really good against Maximus because of Blind's ability to stop all basic attacks from going off, and since Maximus gives a basic attack boost, that's going to kind of halt him as well as his allies from dealing a lot of their damage. Fantastic damage is going to be pretty good against Maximus because he has a little bit less reality than armor, although now that I've read that Maximus's red skill gives reality, maybe it kind of evens itself out, so that might not be the best option. But I think Elastigirl will probably do pretty well against Maximus because of her Jack friend disc over here that reduces reality by 95%, which is absurd. I think this has to be one of the most underrated abilities in the game right here. It can be absurd if you can keep Elastigirl alive and deal that kind of damage with her. Bunsen is a good Maximus counter because his purple skill makes teammates immune to studies for the first 10 seconds. I don't think this repeats, but that's just an option. He's a pretty good study counter. I kind of wish this repeated, to be honest, but it doesn't look like it does. Fear is a pretty good counter because he makes his allies take 10% less damage from crits per stack of dread. So with this purple skill, Fear can have up to 10 stacks of dread at one time, so you could literally be reducing the damage that crits do by up to 100% at any given time. So Fear is a great counter for Maximus and just study in general. Honestly, I probably should have included Fear in my Mulan video as well, because this skill is a pretty good counter for her also. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. So just to kind of review, study teams in general are probably the best teammates for Maximus, as well as Jim probably. As far as countering Maximus, I always go in with Freeze first or any other kind of stun. I don't have Fear powered up yet, but Fear is a great counter for Maximus, and as well as Bunsen. Powerline is also pretty good because of his ridiculous freezing. Honey Lemon will slow him down, especially when put on a freeze team. There's a pretty decent amount of options for dealing with Maximus. He can be very annoying, but he is absolutely counterable. So if you enjoyed this video, if this video helps you out, let me know. Let me know who you want me to do next in this hero overview series. I'm trying to make the rounds. I'm gonna kind of go around all of the roles here. So I started with damage. I'm moving on to tank here with this one. So I'll probably do either a support or a control hero next. Maybe I'll do Ian next. I'm not really sure. I'll have to figure out who is actually good against Ian because I don't really know. But I'll probably do maybe Ian or Fear or Cheshire or something like that next. So let me know who you want me to do a hero overview of next. Like, subscribe. You guys know how YouTube works. Join the Under 100 Club. We're getting closer every single day. If you're in the Under 100 Club, you get to brag forever as I get more subscribers that you were in the Under 100 Club. I'm probably going to put you guys on my end screens of my videos, at least for a little while, just because. Oh, if you have your subscription set to private and you want to be in my end screens at the end of the video, hit me up somehow. I'm always on the Reddit. If you're in server 1, you can hit me up in game. I've noticed that probably half of you have your subscription set to private, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. If you want to be a part of my end screens of my videos, just hit me up. I'll gladly throw your name in there. You can put your name as whatever you want. It doesn't have to be your real name or anything like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace.